My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with has integrated yoga, breath work, meditation, and sound healing into his work while helping individuals cultivate self love and deepen their inner awareness. So, within this episode, we talked about the intersectionalities of race, gender, and different geographical locations. And he also went into talking about some of these self care practices of like yoga and breath work and meditation, and how, when implemented into your routine, can enrich your life. And so this episode was refreshing. I hope that you enjoy it.
Dem Bois, Dem Bois, amplifying, transmitting, cut of voices, yeah, we here making noise, making noise, Visibility equals
Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. My next guest is a dedicated teacher, speaker, healer, and guide, passionate about fostering authentic transformation and self-discovery. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Sean. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you here. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself for folks, your name and pronouns?
Sure. My name is Jay Moten, he, him pronouns. And, I'm the lead facilitator at a nonprofit organization called the Intentional Man Project. And under that umbrella, we do events. We do in-person events like Camp Lost Boys and, of course, virtual programming for trans men. So we're a trans men organization led by trans men for trans men.
Beautiful. Love that.
Yeah. But I also, as you just mentioned, I'm a meditation teacher. I teach yoga. I teach breath work, all the things, leading people with sound healing, retreats, workshops, basically anything that has to do with inner awareness and just finding a deeper sense of self. That's my jam. That's what I'm into. Just finding inner union, basically.
Inner union, especially at a time like this that we need that more than ever. So I definitely want to dive more into that later on as we go on. So where are you located, Jay?
I'm in Los Angeles, and we've been dealing with a lot of environmental things, as some have heard, with wildfires and all kinds of environmental things here. So we're just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here. Los Angeles has been my home now for about 25 years. So I do call it home, even though I grew up somewhere else in Germany.
Are you being affected, or have you been misplaced by the fires at all?
Just briefly. I'm totally fine. Do have a lot of friends that have lost their homes, and it's very, it's just emotional roller coaster. But yeah, I'm just here as a cushion, as a container for other people to gather themselves and to find healing.
Yeah, and when your peace is at home and then you lose that home, that's really hard, right? And I hear see a lot of people on social media like, oh, it's just rich folks. They get over it. Listen, even if you're rich, and not knowing a lot of people that lost their homes are not just rich folks. And there's some historical neighborhoods that were lost, and so many different things, right? And even if you are rich and you lose your home, it's still your place of residence, right? You have memories there. You have. I mean, that's your home, that's your peace, right? And so it's just devastating either way. So I'm glad that you're safe and that you haven't, you were only temporarily displaced, and that you are okay. Yeah. 25 years in Los Angeles. That's a long time.
Yeah, it is. It is. I do feel very comfortable here. It feels like this is the place, and now everything comes into questioning just because how the environments are changing. And sometimes it's hard for you when you, I'm very home oriented. I'm kind of like a little hermit, a social hermit, like I love just being in my space, and then I'll put my toes into different communities and spaces, and of course holding space for community. But but I really, really enjoy my own time and being kind of inward. So this is kind of my space. And now questions come up of, do I need to move? You know, is the air quality that bad? Is it getting that bad that I should be considering moving? But at the moment, I'm staying steadfast for now. For now, I'm in Los Angeles. Yeah.
If you could move, money was not an object,
Oof.
and you could just get up and leave, what would be your ideal place to live? Where would be your ideal place?
This has been going on since the pandemic. I was like, okay, where do I potentially have to move to? I do know I like tropics. I like warmth and like a nurturing spot. So I would say somewhere tropical. I know everybody's like, yeah, of course, everybody wants to move to somewhere tropical where the breezes are nice and you've got some ocean. And but I did get a chance to go to Hawaii recently. Hawaii is, of course, beautiful. So Hawaii would be an option. Costa Rica would be an option. People ask me if I would go back home to Germany where I grew up. And that's not yet an option. I mean, it's an option, but I've left that home, you know. It doesn't feel like home anymore. And just the climate, I got to have a good climate. That's why I left Germany to come to Los Angeles. So I definitely need an environment that feels really nurturing to me, which is water, nature, and softness, gentleness.
Definitely go to a place that your spirit is calling to. I've thought about Costa Rica myself, and I don't even know why. I've never been there, never visited, but I just feel this pull that I should be there for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I need to visit first, but I just feel like it's a place that I should be. I have no idea why. Maybe I had some ancestral roots there that's calling for me. Who knows, right? But that's always been a place for me.
Yeah, I think Costa Rica is calling a lot of people. It's just, I've been there a few times in the jungle. It's a very lush and beautiful place to be, actually. So it's very fertile. You've got like 9 volcanoes there. I didn't even realize there are a lot of volcanoes. They're dormant, but still. So it has maybe that feeling of Hawaii, but just, you know, in South America. But yeah, I know a lot of people that actually during the pandemic, they just up and left. They went there. So yeah,
I need to visit. So Jay, I like to ask folks this all the time. And so your name, Jay, how did that name choose you?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, it's actually not so dramatic and not as intricate as I think many of your guests have really beautiful stories to tell. I don't know. Mine is most likely not as exciting, but I sat long and hard with contemplating what would feel good, you know, but it ended up being mostly that I stuck with my initials, which a lot of guys do, you know, they stick kind of with the same initials. And Jay was my initial, like, you know, so I felt like Jay, it had like a happy ring to it, like Jay, but my name is Jason, but written Jayson, Jayson. So I just felt that was and I thought I was so different spelling it Jay, and of course there's a quadrillion of other guys with Jayson, Jason. But it just felt right. It just felt, I don't know, it felt happy to me. It felt like when I said it, it had a smile, like Jay. I don't know, I had a smile when I said it, and it just stuck for some reason. So Jason Andrew is my, you know, my full name.
And that's beautiful, actually.
Jason Andrew Moten.
That was a good story. I mean, we can't compare it to other people's stories, right? Some people had these elaborate name ceremonies and things like that, and that's okay. But that's kind of cool to take your initials and make a name. Like, I love that. I've never heard anybody say that. So you could say you're the first person on this show to ever have their name choose them in that way. That's kind of cool, actually. Now I want to go back and be like, okay, let me see what my initials were and what can I do? Yeah, I like that though. That's kind of cool, actually. I've never met a Jason, Jay. So you're my first.
Really?
Also. Yo, never. I've never seen anybody. When I saw your name, I was like, that's kind of a creative way to spell it, but that's kind of cool. I love that. So I always ask my guests, right, to give us a bit of their transitional story. But I want to ask you, when was it that you felt a sense of who you were? Like, what age were you, and when was that moment?
For me, it was fairly early on, meaning like I just remember being even as little as, I want to say, just 2 or 3, because I remember having a sense of, oh, I'm a person. When you first come into kind of consciousness of I'm a person and then there's other people out there. So as a little person, understanding that I looked like one set of group of people, like the little girls, but I identified immediately with this other group of little boys. And it kind of threw me off because I was constantly pushed into the social group of, the girls. And I don't know, there was an inner thing already happening at, like, I want to say 3, where I just was trying to understand where I fit in, and it just didn't mesh. And with that, I also, with the behaviors that I was exhibiting as a little boy, and being reprimanded and scolded by those behaviors, whatever that was. Like, I was maybe a little too rowdy, or I was playing with the boys and I was doing different things that traditionally, I guess, stereotypically little boys would do. I understood immediately I was under threat doing these certain things. So I had to kind of question things really early on. And I understood I'm not safe doing XYZ, saying XYZ. And so I was confused. Like, I'm assuming most of us trans guys, really confused by the world, and trying to understand. So I went on that journey of, even as a little kid, just understanding like what I am, who I am, and holding it all to myself, and quite quickly feeling very depressed about it. Now looking back, having already depression spouts growing up, and remembering at even age 5, 6 that I didn't want to be here. I felt like there was no place for me, in this world, because I was different, but also again understood that I could never speak about it. So that kind of informed me growing up and understanding that, no, I'm a boy, but people look at me and then look at my body or who I am as being a girl. And just confused, very confused and very depressed. And early on, understanding how to camouflage all of it and kind of play the part that I needed to, just to kind of survive and to get through things, but always questioning what society is, how society works, how relationships work with people, and really deeply understanding energy of people. And just learning about how we function in general. So yeah, that went on until into the, I want to say, whenever puberty hit. That was, of course, for all of us, I shouldn't assume, but for most of us, the hardest patch of life to go through, and really understanding, oh, the body is now really changing. And now I'll have to really face up and face the expectations of society. So the suicidal thoughts became more and more pronounced, and I had those talks to God. I grew up Catholic, so a lot of church shame going along with other shame, and I was fascinated though still by so I have to backtrack. I grew up in Germany, mom German, and I have to backtrack even more. I was adopted, so there's like layers on layers. I was born in the States, and got adopted by my parents. I'm going to say my parents. Mother German, and father Black American. Later on, I would find out that my biological parents also, father Black African American, and mother Caucasian, but Argentinian descent. I found that out way later. So my parents, as my German mother, we moved back to Germany. My father was in the military, so I basically grew up in Germany, going to German school and going to German Catholic school too. Not Catholic school, but like, church. What is it called in the States? Like Sunday school? Is that kind of the yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So like a Sunday school for Catholics, and all of the shame of that kind of still sparked an interest in what the kind of the Word of God is, and what that deeper sense of having a connection to God was like. And I always felt, again, what I'm hearing from the Bible is that I shouldn't exist. I will be going to hell. And I had to grapple with that throughout my teenage years. So I basically had my talks with God at night, and I would lay in bed. I want to say this is like when I was 15, 16, 17. I don't even know how I survived school because I was so tired during the day. I would lay in bed for hours and hours and have my conversations with God, and would ask these questions and really get to know myself, as in like, even if the Bible is correct, I know deep inside that I'm a good person. I have a huge heart. I'm there for others. How does that, I didn't understand how that even would work with the Bible and what the church was saying is correct and is how one should live. So I just came to my own conclusion. I had to leave the church once I was 18. I just left the church. But I did cultivate a connection directly to a more divine space, or whatever you'd like to call it, the universe, God. And I said, no, that was the shifting point where I got out of my suicidal thoughts. I said, no, I really do deserve to live. And because I'm a good person. I was like, no, flat out. I know I'm a good person. I don't care what you think, but I'm not going to hell, if there is a hell. So I kind of thought like, no, I do deserve to live. And then in Germany, and I have been transitioned now for, I want to say 25, 26 years. So when I was in transition, or rather when I was trying to figure myself out, there was no Instagram. There was no social media. It's like, the dark ages, right? And in those dark ages, I saw just one thing on TV in Germany. There was like documentaries on transsexual, like this transsexual person. And I was really embarrassed and got bright red, I'm sure, because I was watching this thing with my dad on the side. He was in the room and I was watching this thing about a transsexual. I'm like, oh my God, that's me. I hope my dad doesn't know, I hope he doesn't figure this thing out. But of course he had, no clue. And so I just understood there's this thing and I'm not alone. In Germany, there was nothing. There was no internet. There was no, nothing. So I really had to search, like really deeply, deep dive into like, is there anybody else out there? And found my way somehow and found my way to college, to the States. And I was like, okay, this is my out. Like I can go and transition in a different country. And somehow I found ways to find people and find meetup groups that were like hidden, and then decided to come out and tell people. And so I wrote like 10 letters over to Germany to my like friend group, like my close friend group, sent like long ass letters, and then just hope for the best. And I came home winter break in college, and I told my parents, and they were of course confused, but I have to say I was very, very fortunate that they were confused but somehow supportive in their own way. They tried to figure out, like, they thought, well, it's just a phase, but they soon could see that this was not a phase, this was happening. And I kind of went on my way to start transitioning over here in California. And that's kind of how it all got started. And then eventually moved back to Germany and went into that small town. You have to understand, I grew up in like a small, tiny, tiny village close to Frankfurt, which is a bigger city, but it's a small village, cobblestone. Just imagine Disney, like little Disney houses and like little cobblestones and tiny little, things and little bakeries. And, that's where I grew up. And also not small-minded, but it was just one of those little small villages where people don't try to make any waves, including my parents. So I moved back in with my parents, and people like looking through the windows like, wait, what's going on with me coming back as Jason? But they were, I don't know how I got through it. Maybe behind my back they were talking, maybe not. But in general, I didn't have like a horrific transition. I somehow engaged with people and just they somewhat welcomed me in. And that's kind of how I kind of bridged from the US to Germany, and then eventually, as I mentioned, ended back up here in Los Angeles and really had a clean slate. I came with my then girlfriend, and we kind of were undercover, like not undercover, but stealth, stealth cis couple. And that was that for a long time until I came out again very publicly.
Thank you so much for sharing all that. It was beautiful to hear. And a lot of times when I hear people that come on the show telling their own transitional journey, it reflects, because sometimes when you're growing up, you don't have the language to describe how you're feeling and what's going on with you. But to hear you discussing puberty, I realized like, I had some of them same feelings. I literally hated every day of my life once I hit puberty. But I didn't understand it. I just know that the way I felt inside, and I always talk about my transition came at a moment in my life when I, every point in my life, identifying as lesbian or butch or whatever, all of these different things, I was okay with those places in my life when I was there. but I felt uncomfortable. I just knew something was different about me. I didn't know how to pinpoint it, but I hated myself. I had very bad acne once I hit puberty. And so I just had just acne everywhere. So I felt ugly. I wasn't a girly girl, so I didn't know how to do my hair. So my hair always looked a fucking mess, right? I'm growing, I'm growing parts that I have no idea what to do with. I don't know how to support these things that's on my chest. So I'm wearing frumpy little bras, right? And so I just felt unhappy, uncomfortable. I was an overweight child, so I felt fat, right? And so it was just like all of these things that I had no words for and no support around. That I just hated myself every day. So I would wear baggy clothes. I would wear the same like jeans jacket because I knew it covered up every part of me, right? And I would wear a hat to cover my head. And so just thinking and hearing you say like, at first, and I want to also say that I'm so glad you're here. Having those ideas of not wanting to be here. And I'm glad that you are here. You have something to contribute to this world. And we wouldn't be looking at each other had we not been here, either one of us, right? Because I had those moments in my life where, I actively tried to take my life. And so to know that we're here and we're contributing something to this world and to other folks that are looking up to us. So I want to mention that.
The Visibility Equals Possibility collection has new designs and a new designer. Me. My name is Zion, pronouns he, him, his, and I was on episode 53 if you want to go back and check that out. But I am the second trans man of color to design for the Visibility Equals Possibility collection. Dem Bois believes visibility equals possibility, and so do I. I am honored to take part in this groundbreaking collection and look forward to seeing what else the collection has in store. My designs represent having confidence and courage to be bold with your visibility. The design, in my mind, says, take the caution you need, but I am here. I hope you all enjoy the designs, and be sure to purchase some designs from me or Emilio to support gender-affirming programs by Dem Bois. Find the amazing designs of the Visibility Equals Possibility collection and other merch items that I've designed on the Dem Bois shop at dembois.org. That's DEMBOI as in igloo s.org. And remember, visibility equals possibility.
And you were talking about the Bible. And so I grew up in church as well. Right. And then I'm just thinking how you say that we think we're going to hell. But does the Bible really say that? Or is that what people tell us? Right. And so we're taught to believe that because that's what the priest says or the minister says or our parents say or people that we know say. But like, we don't, that's one thing. This is just my own opinion. And I feel about religion and Bibles and whatever, that people don't really do the work that it takes to hold that faith. You just listen to the person that's telling you what the books say, but do we actually dive in, go in between the lines and read it? Right. I'm thinking like when you said that, I'm like, did the Bible really say that? Or did my mama tell me that? You know what I mean? And so it's just that piece. But I wanted to ask you, with your parents now, how are they with you now?
Well, my mother, it's kind of interesting because when I came out to my parents, they went through their own process of understanding, somehow supporting. I'm sure my dad, he didn't quite understand. And my mom really made an effort to understand. She went to groups. But at that same time, I was finally becoming free. And I grew up in a household full of secrets. That's what it felt like. My mom had cancer. She didn't tell anyone, like a lot of different things that were just always kind of swept under the rug because in society would be frowned upon. So me coming out as trans didn't really help that narrative, but she really did her best. And when I came out, I kind of confronted her with all the secrets because I felt she doesn't really know me. And I had to kind of come clean with everything. And I wanted to have a deeper connection to her and say like, look, I know about this, all the family secrets. Hard for her to look at all of that. And shortly after, she had another spout of cancer, and she passed away fairly quickly. So I transitioned 1999. That sounds so old, but and then kind of, I transitioned pretty quickly. So it wasn't like I had a social transition for a long time before I started hormones. It was like I just, came out, transitioned, got the hormones, and socially transitioned. So 2000, I came back home and had my kind of coming out with them. And 2002, she was out. She left this earth. I don't know if that was, I do believe in, God's plan. And I do believe that it was, she was one of those helicopter moms, and it didn't allow me to really just be who I was. And it was a beautiful, challenging and beautiful, painful, but still beautiful transition of her leaving, but her understanding and knowing finally who I am and supporting me. So she left 2002 in Germany. That's when I was with her in Germany. And my father, he's still here. He was still supportive. He still doesn't, I don't know if he calls me son, and they misgendered me in the beginning and stuff, but he doesn't go deep into my journey. So he doesn't really know me either. Not really. And I just try to meet both of them where they're at. It's hard. It's really hard for familial dynamics, and you having to own and take your own responsibility of your happiness and your health. Of course, it's even harder if there's abuse in the family, which wasn't in my case. But in general, it's a challenge to have compassion and understanding for a family that may not really deeply have an understanding or knowledge or even wanting to understand who you are on a deeper level. So it's a practice of compassion. But I know he loves me, so that is all that matters. And so that's the family story. But it tells you a lot about yourself too, when you have to step up, when you have to choose yourself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And we all had to do that. We all had to choose ourselves first, beyond all the social norms, beyond anything, the culture, our race, everything. It's a very deep, and that's kind of what my journey, my spiritual journey is, continuously finding new ways to choose me in the most loving way. And from there, getting to know myself deeper and not shying away from all those wounds and all of the darkness and all of the pain that I may have gone through, but to be curious about it and in finding healing in openness. So yeah, that's just part of my journey.
I had asked, when I asked the question, I said adoptive family, and I wasn't trying to undermine your family unit, but I wanted to specify, because I wanted to go back and say, your birth parents, do you have a relationship with them?
Well, yes. When I moved over here to the States, I kind of, as you do in Los Angeles, everybody goes into entertainment, into the entertainment industry. I wasn't looking to, but when I first got here, people kept telling me, like, no, you need to go. You need an agent. You need to go into commercials. And I was like, okay, I'll try. I don't know. Sure. Why not? But it did take off. And for years I was in an agency with commercials and commercial modeling and all that, stuff. or commercial acting. But they wanted to know my roots. Like they were like, you look like they have to like stereotype you, and which is horrible, but that's and I was like, you know what? I'm adopted. I don't really know my background fully. I just know my parents were very open with me that I'm adopted. After my mom passed, I was like, let me find them. And I did. And the birth mother, she did reach out. Like I reached out, and then we started having a nice relationship. The birth father was more reluctant. He already had a family and wanted to most likely keep it under wraps, because the way my biological mom and dad, it was very taboo, black and white back in the 70s. In Virginia, she was only 17 or 16, he was 28. He was the teacher, she was the student. It's a lot of taboos going on there in how I got conceived. So, but it was nice to see that she wanted to have a, contact. And so I'm still in contact with her, and it's nice. He also passed away a few years back. I found out also through cancer. So, yeah, so that's kind of the biological side of it. And again, him being African American and her being kind of a mix also, I think German and Argentinian descent, which was interesting to me because like people are like, okay, your hair don't look like you black, So I get a lot of like mixed race curiosities of what my background is. And to be honest, with being mixed race, I didn't realize while transitioning and then moving to the States, what it actually means to be, first of all, mixed race, but also a black man in the States. Didn't know. I grew up in Germany. I was just, there was not as much emphasis on race there. And I was just the American, like in Germany, I was the American. Over here, I was like, you talk weird. I didn't have a huge accent, but I didn't have the slang going on here, moving to the States at age, I don't know, mid-20s. And so my uncle, African-American uncle, like my dad's brother, he had a conversation with me. He sat me down, as an uncle should. And he was like, okay, you're a man now, and you a black man in America. And he did it way more dramatic. He's like, you a black man in America. Like he tried to like emphasize with his eyes, with his whole body, like you need to watch out. Like you're in a different plane now. And I didn't get it at first, but I understand. So it's kind of being a trans man and then being biracial and then also being seen now as maybe a black man or just different race man, how that affects your behavior. And that comes with a whole other set of just contemplations and, and I found it very interesting to hear other voices of black men transitioning and how all of a sudden them being seen as a weapon or as a threat,
That's very hard. It took me a while to kind of make that switch mentally of how people perceive me. That's very hard. As black children in America, I want to say, I'm not going to generalize, but most black children in America, we get that talk. My mom gave me that talk. My brothers got the talk. I don't even think my mother differentiated between me and my brothers when we were young. We just got that talk. Listen, you black, that's it. It was always don't walk somewhere and not look behind you. Like all these different things, you know, about the police and like all these different scenarios and rundowns that we have to go through in this country. And it makes me kind of sad to know that in Germany, we never thought about it like that. I've heard other people in other places say the same thing. They didn't think about race until they got here, and you had to you had to determine what race you were. What difference does that make, right?
Yeah.
But this country was built on that and divided on that, with race. And there are people who want to keep these systems alive, and so here we are, right? And so this is sad.
Hey, this is Jackal from Stealth, a Transmasculine podcast. Join me and my co-host Kai as we interviewed transmasculine elders about their experience growing into their authentic selves. The term stealth highlights two important facts. That one, for our generation, we were often told to hide our past and live an underground existence. And that due to that, our stories are very often overlooked. Throughout our lives, each of us has had to navigate issues of disclosure, which have impacted us in many ways. We also have a member section where you'll get to hear some amazing transmasculine history from Black jazz musicians to Mexican revolutionaries. We hope you join us for season 5 as we continue to emphasize that transmasculine folk have always been here and that we will continue to be here. Be sure to check out our website, transmasculinepodcast.com.
When was the last time you've been to Germany?
That was actually last year. Let me see. Okay, now we're in 2025. So actually 2 years ago, but so about 2 years ago. And I used to go almost every year, every other year to visit. I mean, I have a lot of friends there and not so much family, but friends, and which I consider family. And it's shifting too over there. There's racial tensions there too. There's, there's a lot of things that may not be the blacks and the whites, but it's, maybe Turkish people or people from Africa moving in, and there's different, and the right, I want to say, like a lot of right-winged activity going on in Europe too. So there is a lot of tension, but still feels, whenever I go back, it still feels more open in that realm than coming here, being here, which is everything just feels very polarized. And it's very sad. I feel we're at a point in general, you can hit on any topic where we feel separate and where we have to do extra work internally to find, to navigate separation. And so, I mean, it's always been my focus to find my own wholeness in a way, and being able to hold others in that space too, to find beyond color, beyond your race, your gender, really, who are you as a spiritual being? We're having this weird experience as a human, just as a human. It's a strange experience having consciousness or not, And so we're so much in default mode. And I think it's, even though it is so painful to have gone through what we go through as a trans community, but also I just deeply feel it is so unique and so special to be able to hold these both worlds and find, again, a union in yourself that goes beyond polarity, that goes beyond the binary, that goes beyond all of these things. And we do have something very special to offer to the world, even if you're not an activist, even if you're not someone that is like on the streets holding up the signs, your energy and just you being who you are is absolutely enough. That is the the way to wake up our humanity here and bringing some just heart opening to people, even though we're triggering so many people, just by being. But I think that's why we have to be even more stable and steady within ourselves to be able to show others, that no, we're not crazy. No, we're a human having this beautiful experience. How great, how wonderful. Can you just accept that and just embrace us? We're happy people. I mean, deep down inside, it's just the environments that are just weighing on us. But in general, it is such an interesting, I'm not trying to diminish any pain or any challenges that people are going through having this trans experience like me. But I've found so much gratitude in this different perspective that we carry into the world. So more and more, I'm appreciating whatever I have had to go through and whatever now I have to offer to others.
Yeah, and I think this show, yes, it's about covering our lives and our stories for us to hear, right, and building an ancestral presence for us and for trans folks in the future. But it's also a reference point, I feel like, for folks who don't know about us to come here and to hear our stories, that we're human. We have feelings. Yes. We have, emotions. We go through these things, right? We suffer loss. We have joy. Like all of these things, we're professionals. We have all these different nuances about us, and that it's not just what you see, the negative connotations you see on the news that trans folks are trying to, I don't know, manipulate the children or all of these different things. Which is so annoying to hear, because if you think about it, we're adults, but we were once children too, right? And so you expressed having these feelings since you were 2 or 3, right? And so it's like, this is not something that just magically appeared. This is not a cartoon. This is not fiction, right? This is our lives, and the most beautiful thing about it is we chose ourselves, like you said, right? We chose us. You chose you, I chose me. And how much better you feel. Yes, we have challenges, and yes, we have experienced challenges, but how much joy do you feel when you wake up in the morning, Jay, and you're like, I chose myself, right? If more people would just get that, do the work on yourself, how much better you would feel. And the less energy you will have towards hating other people or bringing other people down or doing all the negative shit. If you was just busy loving yourself, you would feel so much better, right? What would this world be like, right? If people would just choose them, and leave us the hell alone.
just focus on you.
Yes, focus
on yourself. But that's the thing. It's I think we live in a world of a lot of unconscious people, people that are, in the matrix of societal norms that have just been going on and living, I guess, very comfortably in it. Yeah. But it's time to wake up. It really is.
Wake the hell up. Yes.
It really is time to, and I'm not saying this as like, just for our acceptance of like that, trans people exist and it's okay. It's fine. But in general, just people need to wake up in general. Our whole world is in a rough place of fear. There's love and there's fear, and for some reason the world, or most of the world, keeps choosing fear. And from fear, just we harbor all of these negative emotions. Our hearts are closed, and that has to change. It has to.
Just imagine the beautiful experiences you can get from inviting other people that are different from you into your world, right? I mean, that's how we get different cuisines, right? Different music, different movies, different clothing, different hairstyles, jewelry.
Exactly.
I don't want to leave this earth I don't want to be laying on my hospital. I'm gonna say hospital bed because I don't want to go out suddenly, right? But just to think, if I'm reflecting on my life and my last moments, I want to know that I did everything that I could do for me and for the people that I love. I want to make sure I exhausted all possibilities in life and didn't limit myself at one bit, right? And so people should embrace that of like living your life to its full potential. What does that mean? Question yourself, and what does that mean? What does that include? What does that exclude? Right? And I just want to make sure I get the best out of it, because as far as I know, I don't know if I'm coming back for another round, right? And so if I did come back for another round, I may be something different. And so I might not get this exact experience. And so I want to make sure to get the most out of this experience.
Yes, I love that. I love what you said.
Hey y'all, Pink Lady here. I am the producer for Dem Bois Podcast, and I am so excited to tell you about my production company, Pink Lady Productions. We collaborate with creatives like you who are driven to share your message by launching your podcast from A to Z and coaching you through the process. To learn more about our services, check out our website at pinkladyprod.com. That's PINKLADYPROD.com.
It's true. It is finding your highest potential, really, and not letting others dictate what your life should look like. I do hope that the listeners that may be in a dark place or that do need that support, that they can hear that and know that they're fully valid, embraced, and supported in a way, and that there are resources like this beautiful podcast. There's resources out there that will affirm their life, you know. I don't know, our mental health is so important, and sometimes it's hard to even see the light, you know. So having people around that do care and that know what you're going through is so important.
It's vital. It's vital. And that just leads me to what I was going to ask you. So you integrate yoga and breath work, meditation, sound healing into your work. I was going to ask you to explain more about that, but I think I want you to elaborate on how can some of these self-care practices benefit trans men of color, and especially during this time in our political climate.
Well, I mean, for me, and this is, I don't try to be like the guru that is saying like, you got to do this and this is definitely going to help you. But I always have to just refer to whatever just helped me in my darkest days or in my curiosity of self. And all those things kind of led to one to the next. And meditation, especially because my mind was out of control. It was just generating thoughts nonstop, negative thoughts, all kinds of thoughts. And I just didn't know how to control it or to calm it down. Negative effects on my nervous system, on my emotions. So meditation really did help me, but especially the breathing, you know. And I'm sure a lot of people, even I think on your guests, some of them mentioned like how the breath really, really does help, and it does so much. I just know doing any type of, even like the simplest form of breath work, even for a few minutes a day, it just allows your system to calm down. And we have so many triggers and so many wounds that are just so ingrained, so deep down, we don't even know in the subconscious mind how much is down there. And all of these different techniques and tools, they really do help just to open up your psyche, open up your awareness of digging a little deeper. And so for me, yeah, the yoga with the movement and the breathing and even the sound, like I've gotten into, again, sound healing and doing these sound baths in person. Even that is just such a deep healing experience. Even energy work, I do energy work. So all of I know that these are all very, I like to say they're all these woo-woo tools, but they work, it ain't no joke, really, truly. So yeah, I do. I teach it. I do workshops. I teach classes, and again, it kind of phased into when I met Rocco from Camp Lost Boys and the Intentional Man Project, and we kind of met on that same level of providing community, providing space, but also kind of going a little deeper into healing trans men. And so that's how I, kind of got working with Rocco and this beautiful organization.
You want to tell us a little bit more about the Camp Lost Boys?
Yeah, I mean, really, Camp Lost Boys is, again, from my experience, first I came as a participant, as like a camper. And this was when I came out the second time, meaning I was already teaching yoga, I was already teaching meditation and all these things. And I was always talking about being your authentic self, being your true self, get into your own nature. And I was like, dude, you're such a hypocrite. But I am, but it felt like I was, because I was holding still this big secret, because I was stealth. Nobody knew, and I had gained so many beautiful friendships here in Los Angeles that were very deep and very spiritual. So it felt very intimate with people that I've now then known for, a decade or two. But still, they couldn't reach me. Like, they didn't see truly the whole me. And I felt like I wanted that weight off my shoulders. Not that I wanted to constantly publicly announce, Jay, I'm trans. Hi, how are you? But I wanted to have the option of not feeling fear and not feeling like it had to be a secret. So I got another round of people together in my community. It was like, I don't know, like 45 people I gathered on a Saturday afternoon. And I didn't tell them what it was about. Everybody was, guessing, including one person who was like, oh my God, you're going to tell me you're trans and you're transitioning to a woman. I thought that was very funny. And I was like, yes, exactly. That's what it is. You got me. No, just show up on Saturday and I'll tell you. And then, so I lifted the veil, and I was embraced with that, but also that led me then to be like, okay, now that it's not such a big deal to me personally, if I can disclose or not, I feel like I want to give back to the community. And that's when I found Camp Lost Boys. And I was like, okay, well, let me just experience. I hadn't been in community with trans men like before, really. So that was a huge experience. It was so heart-opening to see like 150 guys in one room, at like all ages, all sizes, all colors, like everything was there. And just how sweet this community is. I mean, really deeply sweet. Like, people are deeply heart people, heart open trans guys. It was such a profound experience for me to, first of all, just live out my boyhood dreams of just acting a fool and going, climbing frickin' rock walls and doing archery and playing some basketball and just being topless and just, letting it all hang out and not caring. It was very healing, deeply healing. And somehow Rocco and I, the founder of Camp Lost Boys, or one of the founders of Camp Lost Boys, we really hit it off. And so I started facilitating chats or facilitating meditation, chats there. And then he brought me on into the nonprofit. And now I'm just helping facilitate these virtual programs and, helping run Camp Lost Boys when we're in person. And so it's been a very healing experience to be associated with this organization. And specifically for trans men of color, really our aim is to amplify those voices and bring more people in, more trans guys. So it's beautiful. I'm happy that we try to co-create with other organizations that illuminate trans men of color and their experiences. And I mean, hey, if I could do one plug, is that whoever listens to this, we do have our virtual programs. There is a monthly meetup for trans men of color specifically, and it's led by a nice, beautiful brother, Calvin, who runs also another organization called Uncloak, and that's also supporting trans men of color. So he's going to be guiding that group, which is every third Thursdays, and yeah, it's nice to come together as a community to just share. That's what that chat group is supposed to be about, to share the experiences too as a trans man of color.
Jay, I really appreciate you for being here and just sharing your story. It's been an amazing time with you. I don't want to hold you much longer because I feel like we could talk all day. But you've listened to the show before, and so this is the part of the show where I like to ask my guests a random question from my growing list.
Okay.
I'm at 68 questions now, but what I'm doing differently now is I want you to take one, but also leave one. So you answer one question, but leave a question for a person or someone in our community to answer in the future.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah. So pick a number between 1 and 68, and I'll read you that question.
Oof. All right. I'll go with a higher number. Let's go with 55.
Number 55 came from a previous guest, Kale Smoot. And Kale's asks, if your life was to be made into a movie, what song would be playing during the climax of the movie?
Oh, God, that is a tricky question because...
That question is deep.
Wait, I might not have reached the climax yet, so I don't...
Hey,
to be honest.
That's good right there. You don't even know
Do
yet.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, you ain't reached your peak in your life yet. I love that, actually.
I don't know. Because I know how the crescendo kind of goes, but I may have not reached that climax yet or that highest point. And with music, it's tricky because I love music, but I also am not like current with all the things, and so.
You don't got to be current. This is your life, your movie. So it's your song, your choice, right? Not what somebody else like. It's about you in this moment.
Well, to be honest, I don't. A specific song does not pop into mind. But I will say this: I could give you like a title. Maybe the song will be yet produced in the future, but it would sound something like, and I'm not going to sing, but I'll give you a little title. I think it would have to do something with keep letting go. That would be the title. Keep trusting and letting go, because that's deeply what I do or what I strive to do every day, and that's what I'm working on. to first of all trust yourself, trust myself in a way, and get to the point of such deep surrender to the universe, to God, to your soul's wishes, that that you can just fully let go and step away from, your own ego of thinking how your life should be or has to be or what you have to achieve or do. Once you get into that space of deep trust, the soul is always there guiding you, always. And from when you were born, so through all the struggles, through everything, it's been guiding you. So the more you can let go of the mind's hold, the better. And your intuition and your soul will guide you. So I deeply believe that. I deeply hang on to that as my guiding force. And whatever music can come from there, that's the highest one for the crescendo. You just spoke
a manuscript for somebody listening to create your theme song. I hope that comes from this, actually. I've had some call to actions before in episodes, and it actually manifested. So my call to action is for the community and folks that are listening. Create Jay's song, please. He just gave you the manuscript.
Create some music.
Yes, and present it to you so you can.
I'll be waiting.
Yeah, that's so cool. So
I'll be waiting.
Yes. So what is your question that you want to leave behind for folks?
Maybe something very, very simple. Just on a baseline, what does peace and harmony look like beyond your trans identity? So if you take your trans identity away, just you as a spiritual or just as a being, as a human, what does peace and harmony look like beyond your trans identity?
Yo, that's a good question. Wow. What does peace and harmony look like beyond your trans identity?